So Lord Kapila is further describing how the yogi must meditate and contemplate on the different transcendental parts of the body of the Lord. All the parts of the body of the Lord are transcendental, even though some of the parts of the body of the Lord are engaged in different functions. Just like earlier also, we had discussed about this. The Lord, in His two hands, He is holding a club and a discus. His chakra and the club. This is meant for asuras. The Lord is also holding a lotus flower in His hand. That is for the devotee. The conch shell in His hand. That is for blessing the devotees. So it is not that the two hands in which the Lord is holding lotus and conch shell are transcendental, and the hands in which the Lord is holding the club and chakra, they are not transcendental. Because from a material viewpoint, something looks very auspicious and something looks very inauspicious. Just like while preparing for this Bhagavat Katha, I was going through and reading a very interesting episode about Lord Shiva. Daksha considered Lord Shiva to be very inauspicious. Because his perception was from material viewpoint. He saw that Lord Shiva, he always stays in places like crematorium, which is very inauspicious. He saw that Lord Shiva, he not only stays in crematorium, he takes the ashes from the crematorium and smears on his body, which is very inauspicious. Generally, people decorate their body with different kinds of fragrant garlands. Lord Shiva, he wears the garland of skulls. He is surrounded by ghosts, surrounded by pisachas, surrounded by rakshasas. Very inauspicious. And that is what he said. So what Daksha did, he said that actually on my father's request, Brahma's request, unfortunately I have given my daughter to Shiva. He is Shiva only in name. Shiva means auspicious. Otherwise, in reality, he is most inauspicious. You see. So, this is a mundane outlook, mundane perception. Bhagavatam explains, Lord Shiva's lotus feet are worshipped even by Brahma and Indra, two of the foremost of the demigods. And actually he is always very auspicious. Even though Lord Shiva has both material and spiritual opulences, he personally likes to live a very simple life. We always find that generally many people ask this question: why are the worshippers of Lord Shiva so opulent, whereas worshippers of Lord Vishnu are generally understood to be poverty stricken? So we find, even though Lord Shiva has material opulence, because under his command is this whole material world. This Maya, Durga Shakti, is the maid servant of Lord Shiva. So she has everything. But for his personal sustenance, he lives under a banyan tree. And in spiritual opulence, he is considered to be foremost of the Vaishnavas. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. See? And it is understood that actually he has a very important role to play. The ghosts, the demons who are cast aside by the Supreme Lord to rot in this material world life after life, Lord Shiva, being compassionate on them, even thinks about their welfare. So it's most auspicious. So one should not look from mundane viewpoint. That is how it is advised here that one should meditate upon the mace of the Lord, the club of the Lord, which is smeared with the blood of demons. So someone may think, is this something to be meditated upon? We would like to meditate on the smiling face of the Lord. Should I meditate upon the mace of the Lord smeared with blood? There is no difference. Transcendentally, both the acts of the Lord are for the welfare of the living entity. When the Lord is blessing the devotees, or when the Lord is killing and his club is smeared with the blood of the demons, there is no such difference. He is absolute. In the material world there is difference. We cannot imitate the Supreme Lord. In the material world, you kill someone, then we are bound to suffer in this material world from the reactions of our activity we do. It is called Papa Karma. But the Supreme Lord, for him there is no Papa and there is no Punya. It is only transcendental act. Whatever he does is transcendental. He is called Apapa Vidham. No sinful activities can touch the Supreme Lord. And that is how we find that even the demons killed by the Supreme Lord, what is their destination? What is the result? Result is they also become liberated from this material entanglement. So there is no duality in the actions of the Supreme Lord. It is all absolute. That is why Prabhupada says one should not jump to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam thinking This I will read and other things I will neglect. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita we find in the beginning chapters, the different soldiers are described, armies are described, Dhritarashtra is described, Duryodhana is described, his mentality is described, different soldiers on both the sides of the army are described. One may think, what I have got to do with all these things? One should understand, anything in connection with this absolute is also absolute. So, here we find this description is given. Kaumodikim bhagavato dayitam smreta. One should meditate, one should remember the Kaumodiki, the club of the Supreme Lord, the mace of the Supreme Lord, named as Kaumodiki. And what is it? Bhagavato dayitam. It is very dear to the Supreme Lord. Now one may wonder, how come club which is smashing the heads of the demons is very dear to the Supreme Lord? Isn't it? One has to understand it very, very properly. Because actually, one of the most important aspect of the Supreme Lord is His compassion on the living entities. The whole material creation is a compassion of the Supreme Lord. Out of compassion, He creates this material world, so that the living entity who are bahirmukha, who have turned away their face from the Supreme Lord, can become rectified in their mentality slowly. Because the Supreme Lord wants that everyone be engaged in His loving devotional service. Because when one is engaged in His loving devotional service, all the living entities will be joyful, completely filled with joy, happiness. But then, the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmuktam bhajante mam dhridavritam. Unless one gives up sinful activities, one cannot engage in the loving devotional service of the Lord. It is not possible. So there are varieties of ways to reduce the sinful activities. One should not become fixed up thinking that only there is one way, two way. The Lord contemplates there are varieties of ways. For the devotees, it is to chant the holy name of the Lord, all their sinful activities are reduced. But what about the demons? They are not attracted to chanting the holy names of the Lord. They are not attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. So what about them? How their sinful activities will be reduced? So this is the way. Because these materialistic demons, the more they enjoy their senses, the more they will become entangled, the more they will commit sinful activities, and the more they will become averse to the Supreme Lord. So being compassionate, the Supreme Lord reduces their lifespan, killing them, finishing them, and thus He reduces the stock and piles of their sinful reactions. And also, just by being killed by the Supreme Lord, actually all their sinful reactions are vanquished, finished. Because if they are touched by the Supreme Lord, somehow or other, they become purified. So So there are varieties of ways. Even the material punishment one undergoes, the karmic reaction one undergoes, even they are the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon the living entity. Because he is burning his material sinful reactions. He is becoming purified of that. It's very hard to understand. And that is how the devotees of the Lord, they are never disturbed in any kind of ups and downs, in any kind of even reversal in their life. Bhagavatam explains, the devotee always takes every situation as anugraha, anukampa of the Supreme Lord, as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Tatte anukampa susamikshamanaha. The devotees of the Lord, they are always eagerly waiting for anukampa, for the grace of the Supreme Lord. They are eagerly waiting. Susamikshamana means they are waiting for anukampa of the Lord. Bhunjanu eva krita vipakam. And in the meantime, whatever different kinds of sinful reaction, whatever reversal the devotee is undergoing in his life, Bhunjanu eva krita vipakam, he understands it is all my doing. I am simply suffering the different reactions of my sinful life. And actually the Lord, being very merciful, He has actually the major portion of sinful reaction He has already vanquished, and only some sample of that sinful reaction He is giving to me. So what does He do? Hridavak vapurbhir vidadhan namaste. With his heart, with his words, with his body, he simply offers his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord. Vidadhan namaste. Jivetayah. Anybody who lives like this, always expecting the mercy of the Lord, the grace of the Lord, and undergoing whatever tribulations are there in his life, understanding that they are my own doing, Lord has only reduced them, and always being thankful to the Lord. If somebody lives like this, sa eva daya bhakt, it becomes his rightful claim to go back to Godhead. The Lord becomes obliged that after giving up this body, the devotee will go back to Godhead. So Prabhupada explains that we find so many examples in Bhagavatam where the devotees never retaliated all kinds of reversals in their life. They just accepted them as the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And the most striking example is the example of Maharaj Parikshit. So we find Parikshit Maharaj, he had, being a great devotee of the Lord, he had all the powers. He had all the powers to nullify that curse. He had all the powers to curse that Brahmana also in retaliation. But he never. Even that he accepted, the curse he accepted as one of the divine forms of the Supreme Lord. He said, my dear Lord, you have come in the form of a curse, being very, very merciful upon me, understanding that I am very entangled in material life. And in order to detach me from this materialistic way of life, in the form of a Brahmana curse, you personally have appeared. It is your grace. So he accepted. And the result of that is, you can see, 7 days the Lord arranged for him continuously being Krishna conscious. 7 days. What an arrangement the Supreme Lord made for Maharaj Parikshit. By his completely like a puppet in the hand of Maya and acting out of 3 modes of material nature. That's how. So they will be inimical. So we don't have to be sorry for that. If Nityananda Prabhu was not compassionate on Jagai and Madhai, understanding their drunkards, women hunters, where was the way that they could have been delivered? Isn't it? So being compassionate, he did not become angry and retaliate and started thinking, oh, they have hit me, let me also hit them back. No. But then, devotee should not think like this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not keep quiet. That my devotee is being hit and I will keep quiet, very good, hit one more. Isn't it? No. That is for ourselves. If somebody is harming us, then yes, we should tolerate. But if somebody is offending the Supreme Lord, if somebody, just like Hanuman did not keep quiet, he burned the whole Lanka to ash because of the offense Ravana had created towards the Supreme Lord. So yes, for personal sake, devotee has no feeling of inimical feeling or retaliation feeling toward these demoniac people. But otherwise, whatever is required to punish the culprit who is offending the Supreme Lord or his devotee, a devotee is ready to do. So, this has to be understood. So, Prabhupada is saying, those who are demons and are inimical toward the pastime of the Supreme Lord are punished by his mace, which is always smeared with the blood of such fallen living entities. The club of the Lord is very dear to him because he uses this instrument to smash the bodies of the demons and mix their blood. So, this is also a compassion of the Supreme Lord on these demoniac living entities. What is the time? 9:03. Okay. So, just few qualities of these demoniac people we'll try to see. What does it mean to be demoniac? Here we are seeing Prabhupada is very nicely explaining in the purport. Demoniac people are never attracted to the Supreme Lord. Rather, they are always envious to the Supreme Lord. This is a characteristic of a demon. They are not attracted to the pastime of the Lord, to chanting the holy name of the Lord. Anything in relation with the Lord, they are not attracted. So, how do they develop this quality of enviousness towards the Supreme Lord? Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that actually they develop this because of sense gratification, the attachment they have for sense enjoyment. Sense enjoyment and devotion to the Lord cannot go together hand in hand. The more one gratifies his senses, like Hiranyakashipu, the name itself suggests one who is mad after gold and material comfort. Hiranya means gold, Kashipu means comforts of life. Such demoniac people, they become envious to the Supreme Lord, who is seated as their most benefactor in their own hearts. In their own heart, the Supreme Lord is sitting as their benefactor, but they still become envious of him. He is always thinking how to do good even for the demons. but they become envious of that Supreme Lord. So how it happens? Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita. What are these qualities by which they become like this? Dambho, darpa, abhimanascha, krodaha. Arrogance, pride, anger, conceit, harshness, ignorance. These qualities belong to demoniac nature. You can see, divine qualities are completely different. Devotees are not arrogant. Devotees are humble. Devotees do not have this material pride. Devotees are not controlled by anger. Devotees are not diplomatic in their behavior, not inside something, outside something. This is the nature of a demoniac person. Externally he may act to be very good, internally his intentions will be completely different. Conceit, always trying to cheat. Harshness, ignorance, no jnana, no understanding, no spiritual knowledge. These all qualities belong to demoniac people. So Krishna says, transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation. Demoniac qualities make way for bondage. This is the difference. We have to cultivate these qualities. Humility. Knowledge begins with humility. We have to cultivate these qualities. If you cultivate these qualities, then we will become liberated. And if we don't cultivate these qualities and you cultivate these qualities, demoniac quality, then your bondage, the way for bondage is opening up. Then Krishna explains, those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Whereas devotees, they are always very clear what should be done, what should not be done. Very simple. Whatever pleases the Supreme Lord should be done. Whatever is not pleasing to the Supreme Lord should not be done. Very simple principle. For demons it is not clear. They do not know what should be done, what should not be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. So these three things are also absent. No cleanliness, their behavior is improper, and there is no truth in their life. They are always after untruth. So this is there. And what is their perception about the world? They say this world is unreal. There is no foundation, no God in control. It is produced from sex desire and has no cause other than lust. This is what they think. Just to fulfill my desire, this material world is there. Otherwise, there is no other foundation to this material world. No God in control. Everything is happening by itself. Rather, I am Ishwar, I am controller, I will control it. These are all demoniac nature. Then, following this conclusion, demoniac, they are lost to themselves. They have no intelligence. They always engage in unbeneficial, horrible work meant to destroy the world. So because of this conclusion that there is no God in control, I am the controller, and there is no such foundation, everything is running because of lust, he always does unbeneficial work for the mankind. Demoniac, taking shelter of insatiable lust, pride, false prestige, and being illusioned, and always sworn to unclean work, are attracted by impermanent. See, they are unclean, they have taken shelter of lust, they have taken shelter of false prestige, and they are always in illusion. They are always attracted by something which is not permanent. They believe to gratify senses unto the end of life is prime necessity of human civilization. This is their conclusion. To gratify senses, this is the most important thing in human life. Ranam kritva ghritam pibet yavat jivet sukham jivet. This is their conclusion. This is their philosophy. Live, however, beg, borrow, steal, but live comfortably your life. You see? Thus, there is no end to their anxiety. So, what is the result? Because of being attached to impermanent and trying to satisfy their desires, no end to their anxiety. Being bound by hundreds and thousands of desires, by lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. So, this we see. Now, in order to satisfy their lust, all illegal means they take. So, what are they doing? They are incurring sinful reactions for all illegal activities they are doing. Demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, I will gain according to my plans. So much is mine, it will increase in the future more and more. He is my enemy. I have killed him. My other enemy will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform yagnas. I shall give charity. I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. And finally, Krishna says, after many more few verses, Krishna says, I cast them into the darkest of the ignorance, where perpetually it becomes very difficult for them to come out. So actually, don't we realize it is mercy of the Lord? If the Lord finishes kills them and smashes them and stop their sinful activities, actually it is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So, another important aspect, I'll just mention it, we don't have much time. On the opposite, the Supreme Lord, one should also meditate on the necklace of the Supreme Lord which is hanging from the neck of the Supreme Lord, like Kaustuba jewel is hanging from the neck of the Lord. And those pearls, they represent the pure living entities. The club is representing these asuric living entities. That also should be meditated upon. And the other living entities, the pure living entities, they are situated on the neck of the Supreme Lord, just like those pearls. And Prabhupada explains, just like a man always protects the special pearl and necklaces round his neck, similarly the Supreme Lord gives protection to his pure devotees. They are called here as Amala. Amala means completely pure. So there are two living entities, one envious, another completely pure, who are attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And like that, there are various aspects of the Supreme Lord one should meditate upon. So we'll stop with this. Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.